Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 90th episode of Fuel for Success. On this Tuesday morning, we'll be talking about personal finance. And it's great to see everyone here this morning. It's a beautiful May day here in wonderful Hastings, Minnesota. How are things in Florida, my friend?
Things are good. I like the rhyme, May Day. Things are
Yeah,
good, man. It couldn't be better. I mean, it could be. It always can be better, but it's good. It's excellent. I'm blessed. I'm alive, my friend. I have
right.
18,772 more days until I'm 90. So I got a lot to get done in those 18,772 days.
I
You know what
have
I
a
mean? It
few
doesn't
less
feel
than
like
that.
enough time, does it, Rev?
It doesn't. It never is.
How are
Hey,
you, man?
I'm excited about the warm weather. I don't know if I told you this. I'm not going to be here on Friday.
Oh, what's going on? You going
Yeah,
hiking?
going hiking, and I was at the store yesterday. It's kind of interesting because today is personal finance. Let me just share this little story because there's a good lesson in it about where you spend your money and being a smart shopper. I'm at Walmart yesterday and picking up a few things, and I needed to get some insect repellent because, as you know, I have Lyme's disease, so I know the value of having effective tick repellent because that you get that from a deer tick. And so I'm there picking up some insect repellent because this time of year, especially in Minnesota, that's a high concentration of ticks. And so I'm looking at the stuff there. I went to get some what's called permethrin, which you treat your clothing and it kills ticks on contact. It's the most effective way to prevent tick bites. But and I see there's this new tick defense, like, and I don't remember if it was like Deepwood's Off or Cutter brand or it was one of the name brands, right? But it was tick defense, and I pick it up and I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, I've never heard of this. And so I'm reading the active ingredients, and it's a new insect repellent I hadn't heard of called picaridin. And I'm like, wow, okay, well this might be better because permethrin, you treat your clothes, you can't get it on your skin. It's very effective, but it's inconvenient. Okay, and so I'm thinking,
Okay.
well, maybe this is a better option because in the past we've used DEET-based insect repellents, and so I'm looking at it, and it's relatively inexpensive. So the great thing is we have technology. I open my smartphone and I do a search on picaridin, and I start looking at the efficacy of it versus wood ticks. It turns out that it's actually less effective than DEET, which is the old standby when it comes to ticks. But this company had, because it was a new insect repellent, they'd marketed it as tick defense, even though it was less effective against ticks than the old stuff, because they saw a market segment that they could attack, and it had nothing to do with the effectiveness of the product. In fact, they were misleading the consumer, right? By trying to open a market segment. So it pays to do some research and understand what product you're buying. Just because they labeled it tick defense, it was actually less effective against ticks.
That's a good principle, Mike. That's actually a really good principle, and I believe in that. Most people don't slow down and read the fine print. Most people are just helter skelter when it comes to their money and the things they buy. They don't really research. They don't really look and see if they can get a better deal. They don't really look and see if it's even like you said. I mean, so what's the lesson learned for you in that
The
situation,
le-
my friend?
lesson learned from that situation is understand what you're going to buy, and the big shiny label on the front may not mean anything. I mean, they just put that on there to sell product. And I'm sure that there's like some engineers and scientists at that company that are going, but that doesn't make any sense. It's not good for ticks. We shouldn't call it tick defense. But the marketing department's going, no, no, no. Trust me, we did market research and we know that we'll sell more if we label it tick defense. So, understand that, uh, those companies aren't necessarily there to protect you. They're there to get your money.
Well, you know what? And there's another lesson about being authentic that they may make money in the short run, but in the long run, whenever you violate integrity and you rip people off, there's some kind of energy that it begins a. People like that don't last. They really don't last. It's kind of like the naked drinks. You remember?
Yeah.
It was so appealing at first. It appeared healthy, but in reality wasn't. they won't last. They'll be put out of business fast. So good lessons right there, Mike. So you guys are going hiking? Is this what I'm hearing?
Yeah, we'll be probably Thursday afternoon. We'll head out. We'll be back sometime on Saturday. So 2 nights.
Well, good for you guys. That's so important, man. I believe in that kind of stuff. And so you're going to miss the show Friday.
Yes, sir.
Tragedy. We'll see if we can get somebody on. But anyways, no, you deserve it. Have a blast. You and John are going. Are you guys hammocking as well?
We'll be hammocking. Probably about 5 of us. I decided that be a good time to, encourage some fellowship among some of the young men in the church, and so there'll be some other guys going with us. There's some trout streams down there. We'll also be doing some foraging, which is harvesting wild edibles that grow in the woods.
Well, you'll be better for it, my friend. Most people think that vacation is a waste of time and money. It's actually the opposite, believe it or not. Believe it or not, if you really vacation right, you'll actually make more money and save more time. See, so many people miss this, Mike. They miss what exercise and vacationing and resting does for you over the long period of time and the quality of your life. People think that um, I like what Al, I like Al. It's good to have him on the show. He said maybe it's time to have Carol on. And, that might be right. That might be time to have Carol on and have her tell some stories on Mike since he'll be somewhere in the forest and won't be able to defend himself. But, anyways, no, there ain't nothing bad you can ever say about Mike, ever. I mean, I hang with the guy all the
Actually,
time.
that's not true.
I can't say anything bad about him. I wish the same were true about me, but it's not. But hey, listen, today is on finance, wealth, money. We are every Tuesday, have converted our Tuesday show into a show about cash and about money and about finances. And so we like to just bring some wealth principles, some money principles, some good practical coaching and training about finances because, after all, God said in the Bible that money answers all things. So, one of the number one things you should be pursuing in life is more money. And never feel guilty for that. Ever. Ever. Don't ever let anybody make you feel guilty for more money. And I'm just going to throw something out there, Mike, then we'll dive into the questions that have been coming in from our viewers. I don't believe in speaking negative about money to our kids. Case in point, parents that say to kids, if a kid was to ask for something, let's say a kid wants a new bike or maybe he wants a nicer pair of shoes, I don't think it's wise to say to the kid, what, are you out of your mind? Do you think money grows on trees? Now listen, more parents do this than what we even realize, and it's actually extremely bad for your child. It's bad to put those kind of negative images about money in your child. Believe it or not, like for you to become wealthy and financially free, you've actually got to develop a good relationship with money. You actually have to grow to respect money because money has an energy and money is spiritual. So even saying things to your kids like we can't get that because we're broke, it's not the right answer. Better to say, you know what, we can't get that right now, but we'll save up for it and we'll make it happen. To really train our kids to have abundant, positive relationship with money. Because I see a lot of parents that are very negative about it when their kids ask for something. You should never, ever belittle your kids' boldness to ask. This is why we grow up and become fearful. Because when we were kids, we would ask for anything. And we literally believe we had a comfort to ask for anything. Our parents and our teachers and people growing up through life have kind of put this negative energy in our minds about money and have taken away our boldness. This is why so many people are so fearful and they don't ask for things anymore. We were a kid, my son, he'll ask for anything. And you know what? I got to be honest. I'm okay with that. I'm actually okay with it, and I want to foster that. I want to teach him the right relationship with money and that it's okay to ask for big things and not never feel guilty. You know how many people might go buy a nice pair of shoes and feel guilty for it? Do you know that when you entertain that guilt, when you allow that spirit of guilt to come in when you're going and blessing yourself with a nice new shirt or a pair of shoes, believe it or not, you're creating negative energy and negative emotional behavior with money. Should never feel guilty. Now, if your car payment is late and your wife is stressed out and you go buy a brand new softball bat because you're on the softball team now, then that's when you should feel a little guilty. But if you work hard, there's nothing wrong. You know, a lot of people that grew up poor struggle with this change of mindset. I've met a lot of people, Mike, that they have poverty thinking when it comes to, like, for example, if I said to Mike, Mike, man, I really love that shirt. Like, if Mike, which he does, if he has the right mindset about money, he would say, thank you, I appreciate that. People have the wrong mindset. I see this happen all the time with cars, houses, clothes. Like, oh yeah, you know, I got a good deal on this. You know, I got this, you know, you should see. I mean, my Lord, I got a steal. Like, if someone was to compliment my vehicle, I'm not going to say, oh yeah, you know, I mean, my Lord, I mean, it was a miracle how I got this, you know, I got, like, you know, unbelievable deal. I couldn't turn it down. Believe it or not, you know what people are doing? They're making excuses in their subconscious mind and justifying why they're blessed. Nobody should justify why they're blessed. Just learn how to be gracious and say thank you. And never justify why you have a nice new shirt or why you have a nice house or a nice car or whatever. Or you go on a cruise. Like, I got to be honest with you. I went on a cruise here a while back. And I actually started justifying, like, why I was going on this cruise. And I caught myself and thought, wait a minute. I don't have to justify. I work hard. I give a lot, you know, like Mike shouldn't have to justify taking a few days off to go hiking. Go hiking. Deserve it, you know? That's why, like, you know, I just think, Mike, these are some things we need to be careful of. What are your thoughts on that, my friend?
Well, I have to stop doing that because people are all the time complimenting me on my hat. No, they're not.
You tell me you got a Goodwill or what?
No, I did get a great deal on it, but I mean, so what? Uh,
Exactly.
I
It
just,
doesn't need
it's,
to be said unless you're like sharing with a friend, hey, you can get one of these and they're like 50% off. But it's not a
right, right.
justification.
Yeah, I paid four
See,
bucks for this hat. Just so you know.
four? Not a bad deal, actually. I would have paid maybe, you know, a buck and a quarter. But never criticize someone that's blessed. Never criticize someone that's wealthy. Never, you know, I know a lot of people that speak against rich people, Mike. And guess what's going to
Right.
happen? You're going to stay broke when you do that. You cannot speak against people that have money because listen to me. I'm going to say it over and over again every Tuesday. There is an energy with money. There is a relationship. There is a very spiritual vibration with money, and it will not come to people. It will not come to people. Your life is like a magnet when you have the right energy and mentality. This is why you read every book about millionaires. One of the number one things they'll talk to you about is your financial blueprint right here and how you have to change that. Why do you think some people win the lottery and end up more broke than when before they got the lottery because they didn't change their blueprint? You know what I'm saying? Of course, there's nothing wrong with being frugal. In fact, most wealthy people are frugal, but they don't justify and have negative mindsets about money and feel like they have to explain to people every time someone compliments them, you know, or whatever. You know, the whole principle of it. Of course, frugality is a biblical principle. It's actually wise to be frugal. But believe it or not, like we talked about last week, some people buying $100 shirt, believe it or not, that could be perceived as frugal. When someone says, well, why would I do that when I can go to Goodwill and get one for $10? It's not about that, my friend. It just depends on how you look at things. So that's up for discussion,
That's
Mike.
that's some really good stuff. I'm thinking back, and I may be guilty of some of that. I need to make some adjustments there.
Well,
And
we all
I think
as
especially.
well, Mike. I had to change so much and still do because we all are what we are by our training and our upbringing and just, you know, our relationship. Like, all of us have had a relationship with money, all of us. So whether it was negative or bad, or whether you had a really good experience, either way, you've got to change your relationship blueprint and your relationship energy with money. And I'm with you, Mike. I had to make major changes and still am working on some things, man.
Well, I like what you say about money having energy, and some of our viewers may be thinking their lights are out. So let's get practical a little bit. Um, and you mentioned books you've read on millionaires, and I actually thought of a story of the first time I met a millionaire, but share some things that you learned from a millionaire.
Well, no, share the story. I'm intrigued. First time you met a millionaire, share the story, man.
I was actually in Florida with my good friend. We were down visiting his. We were like in West Palm Beach. His brother was a golf pro down there, and we went to see him. And he was a pro on this #1 rated private course in Florida. It was a very exclusive thing, and I'm a hillbilly from Iowa, right? I never seen this stuff, but so I go down there with him. We go to have dinner at this guy's house. This guy was extremely wealthy. He owned dozens of coal mines and stuff in Kentucky and Tennessee. Uh, and the moment I met him, we went to his house and we were actually waiting. He was late, and he came in and he was so excited because he just found this awesome pair of like slip-on loafers at the flea market for $1.
And that is, you know what? That is actually one of the habits of millionaires.
And then like the next sentence, well, a little bit later, he's like, "There's this whole wall of silver, like in a glass case." He goes, "Yeah, Rockefeller gave me that."
So he goes from
I
talking
have
about
this
silver
like
he got at a flea market to like silver that he got from Rockefeller. That's quite a story, man.
exactly,
What do you learn from
exactly,
that?
and I'm like, what I learned from that is exactly like Carol said. There's nothing wrong with being frugal. This guy was frugal. I mean, he had millions of dollars. He had a wall full of silver from Rockefeller, and yet he still understood the value of $1.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it just depends on the areas of life that people are going to be frugal on. I've encountered a lot of millionaires that are frugal in some areas, but what we would consider extravagant in other areas. And a lot of that just depends on a person's, like, for example, I'm going to give you an example, okay? Um, let's take case in point, a good friend of mine who I've done life coaching for is extremely lucrative wealth. Um, and he bought a private plane, right? He literally like was talking about it as if I was sharing with Mike about buying a new iPhone or something. It was just like everyday language, and his blueprint is so huge the way he thinks about money and wealth, but he is also one of the most frugal people you'll ever meet, pretty conservative. But some people would consider that like, some of the things like he owns a box in the Dallas Cowboys stadium, and I think it cost him maybe over $1 million. So somebody would look at that and think, "Oh my God, have mercy!" That is like, think about all the people you could help that are poor. Think about the orphanages you can build, and that's what we think. But see, he's a businessman, and he has to do a lot of entertaining. And for him, it was a tax write-off, and for him, it was a place that he could take a lot of his clients. So for him, it's not some extravagant waste. For him, it's actually a very wise investment. Think of all the things that take place at the Dallas Cowboy Stadium, from games to concerts to all kinds of things that take place there that he has access to and can bring people with him. So to somebody that's like struggling to pay their lights, we look at that and think, oh my God, right? But to him, who makes $15 million maybe every 60 days or so. So I think we just need to be careful that we don't judge people on what they use their money for. Learn from everybody, learn from people and say, well, man, if I had that kind of money, I wouldn't do that. Maybe you wouldn't, but it doesn't necessarily mean that person is evil. Get it? It doesn't mean that person is wrong. So I just think that's what I'm talking about with your energy and your attitude about wealth and about money and about people that have money and about people that don't have money. Listen, I've sat and had lunch with homeless people. I remember one day a homeless person looked at me and said, "Look, I don't have anything. You see this bag? This is all I own." He said, and literally said this, and I'll never forget it. He said, "But I am a wealthy man." He said, "I have something that most rich people don't have." And he said, "I have something called time." He said, "If time is money," he said, "I have more time." I mean, it's all perspective. Like, the guy was legitimately, sincerely happy. He said, "I have time to do what I want. I enjoy life. I sit by the water. So it's all perspective. Everything, whether you have it or whether you don't have it, it's all perspective and it's all attitude, in my opinion.
It's good. I like that. And I can see exactly his point about, or your point about, investments. Because a lot of times, like for me, I mean, and this is not like an airplane, obviously, but you might look at my computer setup on my desk and think, man, it's a guy got so much computer equipment, but it's an investment. And I'm frugal about it, but you have to make money, and so
Well,
things that help you make more money are an investment. So
and you know what? That's what wealthy people do is they keep spending their money on things that make them more money. See, the day that we all can learn this is the day that we begin our wealth building. Always take your money and use it to make more money rather than taking your money and just buying things all the time. And that's literally the fine line between some people that end up becoming wealthy and people that don't. Is wealthy people get an extra $1,000 and say, "Okay, what can I use this $1,000 to make more money?" Some of the people that are not so wealthy will take that $1,000 and just go blow it, on things. And again, like I said, nothing wrong. I'm never in my lifetime going to judge someone that has nice things. Never. I would never, just because it's not right. But at the same time, have the mentality of pay now, play later. I talked to a guy this week who was a very successful real estate, very successful. You ready for this? So I was picking his brain. Hey, what was the secret to your success? And now here he is. He's probably in his 50s. And he said, "Look," he said, "I'm going to be honest. I learned two things." He said, "I learned to be successful. I had to work 7 days a week." And he said, "I also learned that the harder that I worked, the more money I made." And he said, now watch this. You ready for this? He's on vacation, right? And I asked him, I said, "Well, because he's in real estate." He said, "Look, Friday, while I'm on vacation, now this will change your life." He said, "I got 57 phone calls while I was on vacation on Friday." I said, "You got to be kidding. 57 in one day?" He said, "Yes." And he said, "And I answered every single one of them." Now listen to this. I looked at that and my mind just went, I made all kinds of mental notes. There's two ways to look at it. You can look at it and you can say, "God, this guy has no balance. I can't believe that he would answer his phone while he's on vacation," right? Or you can look at it and you think, "You know what? He has something so few people in America have, and that's financial freedom." He's about to retire this year at like 50 something. He has a home in Florida, and he's financially free. And he looks very happy to me. You know what I'm saying? So, how can we criticize a man that's obviously, and he said, and I can't remember who said this, but usually the ones that are saying you need balance, you shouldn't answer those calls. Usually those are the ones that have no money, and are not successful. Usually the ones that are always telling us to slow down are usually the ones that, you know, they mean well, but they don't get it. They don't get that, a lot of times, well, that could be for our Thursday show as well, Mike, but
yeah,
and
yeah,
again, you ready for this? How you look at that, I respect both sides. If you look at that and say, "Man, you're on vacation, you should take time off," I respect it. I will tell you this. Most of the extremely successful people that I know do not take time off even when they're on vacation. Now, they rest, but if they have business to take, in fact, I met a businessman on a cruise when I was on my cruise, and he was extremely successful in business. He said, "Look, my phone's been on this whole cruise." You know, two ways to look at it. I respect both.
I like that. I think that a lot of the really successful people, they just love the game.
Yeah,
And to like not be in the game isn't vacation to them. They're like missing the game. They're like
yeah.
sitting there going, "Man, I want to get back in the game."
They're
So
like,
to them, it's not necessarily work.
how long can you look at a palm tree on a beach, right? I mean, really, no offense. How long can you just sit there and look at the beach? And I love the beach. I mean, I love the beach. But at the end of the day, you're right. A lot of the people that are successful, they're successful because what they're doing, they don't feel like is work. You know what I mean? So him taking those 57 calls, he's like, didn't feel like work to me. It was easy. Boom, 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 boom. You know what I'm saying? Just giving you guys,
Hey,
remember, this is fuel for success. We're giving you things to think about here, my friends.
that's right. There's a concept that applies to pretty much everything that we've said here, and that is that, and you even said it explicitly, but it really applies to everything. Is that you don't want to be, looking from the outside at someone else's circumstance and try to make a judgment about it. From personal experience, I can say that, especially when it comes to finances, it's very easy to like look at someone else's life and say, well, that doesn't seem like a wise purchase, or that doesn't seem like a wise way that they spent their money, but without understanding, and from personal experience years ago when I was running a consulting business, I was on the receiving end of that, of being judged for the way that I was spending finances. And it was like, from my perspective, it made perfect sense the way that I was spending the money, the things, the purchases that I was making, that sort of thing. And uh and so I've made it really a priority in my own life to not look at, oh, so and so bought a new car and that doesn't make any sense because X, Y, and Z. We don't really have any idea what all of the circumstances are. And the
Yeah.
same in somebody's life who maybe has wealth, and you go, man, buying a plane, that's extravagant. But they may buy a plane and save $10,000 a year. You don't know,
And save and
because
save thousands of hours waiting in airports.
right.
So
So that's
again,
good.
very good show today, Mike, for people just to start thinking a little more outside of their little parameters. You know what I mean? To stop just accepting things as one way all the time. Like, I'm kind of lighthearted nowadays in that I'm starting to respect other people's views and ways of doing things, even though it's not the path I'm taking, even though it's not necessarily my style. I'm starting to respect it. Before I probably would have criticized a man that answered 57 phone calls while he's on vacation. Now I'm starting to respect that. I'm starting to say, okay, I get that. You know what I mean? So just that's
Yeah.
our advice right here. Mike, we got about 2 minutes. What would you like to dive into maybe just for the last 2 minutes here, my friend?
Um, how can we change the world? No, I'm just kidding.
One
Um,
person at a time. A mission 25.
there you go.
There you go. There's the answer right there.
Mission
Two
25.
words.
Oh, by the
Mission
way,
25.
did, that's a great segue. Hey, did you notice that Dave Ramsey literally donated a financial peace package for our Mission 25 auction?
I didn't know that.
Well, someone in our network knows someone that works at Dave Ramsey Financial Peace, and they donated one of the packages. Um,
What?
and my wife's
Now
doing a
I'm
great
a
job.
massive Dave Ramsey fan. I mean, I've always been a Ramseyite, but now I'm like Ramseyite on steroids.
I'm trying to grab the link here because we're doing that auction next week. That's like a charity auction for Mission 25, and so they donated a package, and we're auctioning it off. So that's pretty
Yeah.
exciting.
Well,
So if you don't
case
have
in
that,
point, Mike. Case in point about thinking big. We're actually on a mission right now to raise over $80,000 to fulfill our next 8 missions trips budgets. Right? Some people may look at that and think, "Oh my God, $80,000!" Right? It all depends on how you look at it, my friends. When we should be looking at it like, "Wow, you're going to impact 8 of the worst cities in America. You're helping fatherless kids, the homeless, women's shelters, teen centers, people that are sick, kids with cancer. Wow, what an investment. You know what I mean? It all depends on how you look at it, my friends. I just want to leave this show encouraging you to think bigger and to think more abundant. So that's the link right there to the auction, Mike.
That's the link to the auction, and it was Britton's friend that that donated that, who works with Dave Ramsey. So thanks, Britton. I thought it was Britton, but I didn't want to call out because I couldn't remember for sure, and I'm sometimes bad with those sort of details. But
You go, Britt. You
appreciate
go,
that.
Britt. We love you. Britton thinks right about money. Of course she does. She gives a lot to Mission 25. She knows how to get blessed.
Right.
Mike, case in
Yes.
point, real quick before we close. No, we'll leave it for next Tuesday. Hey, guys, we love you, man. We appreciate every single person that watches this show. I want to say a hello to all those that watch later on the archives. You're just as valuable. Those that just get in the trenches with us every day and hang out every morning live, God bless you. And please remember, if these shows bring value to you, please pass them out. This is fuel for success for everybody. Give them to friend, give them to your boss, give them to your coworkers, give them to your kids to watch, give them to your grandmother. Don't let anybody live without fuel for success. Just like friends don't let friends drive drunk, friends don't let friends go without fuel for success, my friends. Go to fuelforsuccess.tv, hit up iTunes or YouTube, and we'll see y'all tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for our show about spirituality. Good day, Mike. God bless, my friend. We'll be talking.
Right on. Rock your Tuesday, everyone.